Happy Friday, everybody. Hello and welcome to Enchanted Empath. I'm doing something a little bit different. So I wanted to let you know that I am going to be doing these lives now twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they're going to be a lot shorter. So they're going to be maybe 10 to 20 minutes max. So I got to really control myself. All right, so welcome in. I'm glad you're here. Today's topic, I've been wanting to talk about this one for a long time, but I didn't want to offend people. But it's time. It's time to talk about it. And this is why empaths hate their phones, right? We hate those little cell phones. Of course, I'm using mine right now to record on Instagram. So there are times, of course, when I absolutely love my cell phone because of the Gemini that I am. I love tools. I love technology. I love using the most efficient, smart tools on the planet, right? And so, right at the palm of our hands, we have this amazing tool that accomplishes so much. But the other side of that coin is a lot of noise and just a lot of grating noise and interference in our lives. And for this live, I want to talk about how that specifically affects the empaths. And you know what? Even if you're not an empath, it's still affecting you. And I'm gonna break it down and show you what's going on with your relationship with your cell phone. Of course, there's good, and then there's the not so good. And we're going to talk about the not so good. But first, I would just want to back it up and talk about empaths. And why are we talking about empaths? Well, it's because I'm one of them, and empaths are just naturally sensitive and naturally intuitive. And so it requires a level of quiet for us to access our intuition. Now, I do believe that everybody is intuitive, or everybody has an intuition. Not everybody is intuitive. And they're not intuitive because of things like cell phones. And so in my life, I value my intuition more than anything else. And so I have limitations and boundaries around things that interfere with my ability to access my intuition. And so that's why we're having this conversation. And I know a lot of empaths out there feel the same way, but maybe they don't have a framework around why and what is actually happening on a biological level, right? So intuition is vital for me, and that does require quiet. And then when I am multitasking, and I know a lot of people when they're multitasking and they got the bells and the whistles and the ringers and the beeps and the notifications and all that stuff going on, multitasking just becomes extremely overwhelming. It creates an ADHD kind of factor in our brains. And this goes across the board for everybody, not just the empath. But I think the empath probably has a very low tolerance to that. We don't like it. We don't like it. We like to kind of manage our energy and where our attention goes and not being pulled in a million different directions. I remember that song from Tom Petty back in the day. It says, "Don't jam me," or "Don't jam on me," or something like that. Don't jam me. I so related to it. Very low tolerance in people demanding my attention. And so I was one of the reluctant last ones to get a cell phone back in the whenevers. And because I didn't want that, I didn't want people tracking me down. I like the old, leave a message, I'll call you later when I feel like it. But of course, technology and everything evolved that way. And so I take the good and now I minimize the distraction. So I want to talk about what is happening inside of our brains with the constant bombardment and interruption of the cell phone. And I want to talk about the neurotransmitters dopamine and serotonin. So I have a very long family history of drug and alcohol addiction. And so I took it upon myself as a personal mission to really understand the biology behind it, what's going on, why is this a problem? And that's with including with myself. I wanted to understand what is triggering me, what's happening, because the community of recovery would have you believe that you're powerless and that you're out of control. And I never for one second believed that. I still don't. It doesn't resonate with me on any level. I know that we are powerful beyond measure. I know that the universe is coursing through our veins, literally. So there's nothing that we can't do, be, or have. But I think that it's it comes with we have to have a level of understanding so that we can change it, so that we can get ahead of all this stuff. So in my studies, and trust me, there's so many neuroscientists out there on podcasts and writing really good books. There's so much information available to all of us. This information has just become so important to me, and it relates on so many levels to things. But specifically with the cell phones, this is what's happening. So all of us have serotonin. It is mostly developed in our gut. And that is the neurotransmitter that is responsible for our feelings of well being, a sustainable well being, where when we connect with nature, we listen to good music, we're in love, we're with our families, and it's a sustainable, lovely sensation, feeling that we have. Does it last forever? It can come and go, but it's got an easier ebb and an easier flow. And so we can access it, or we can trigger it just by being in nature, by being surrounded by beauty. Beauty is a big serotonin producer, right? Being inspired by the mountainscapes, by the sunsets, all of that. And then dopamine, on the other hand, it's its polar opposite. Now, we used to believe that serotonin and dopamine were in the same house, but they're not. So dopamine is chasing the high. That's the catalyst for addiction. And so when we're getting those dopamine hits, and you're seeing where I'm going with this with the cell phone, we are constantly chasing something. So whatever our addictions are, those dopamine hits can come from drugs, alcohol, shopping, sex, you name it, chocolate, and our cell phones. And so a lot of people have really created some big time codependent feelings and sensations around the dopamine hits. So the dopamine hits gives us that surge of but the funny thing is that it's not lasting. It's the chase that is more exciting with the dopamine hit. And once we get the thing that we're wanting, the cocaine, the drugs, the whatever, we all know the story, any of us older, it's fleeting. It doesn't last. And then your brain is all wired for the next hit, for the next hit, for the next hit. Oh my God. So we're constantly chasing the dragons. And this is like the cornerstone to addiction, right? So if we are looking at our cell phones and we look at the dopamine hits and that constant barrage of beep notification, this and that, a lot of people are looking to be validated. There's like, oh, I got more likes. Ooh, I got this. Ooh, I got that. It's this constant stimulation, and it's dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. And I got some statistics for you here. So according to global tech company called Asurian, they say that Americans check their phones 96 times a day. So that's like once every 10 minutes on average. Once every 10 minutes. I know people who are way more than that. I think that this is soft. And apparently that this is 20% up from just 2 years ago. So we're creating this society and this culture that is really heavily addicted to those dopamine hits, the cell phone stimulation. I know that some people get a sense of importance and a sense of purpose and or distraction or whatever. Why do we do the things that we do for our dopamine hits? It's to feel better, but is it real and is it lasting? No, it's not. And it just creates this cycle of dissatisfaction and continuing to chase and to want more and want more. And then, having that empty feeling of hollowness, that just that void that can't be filled. So I am way more into figuring out how to raise my serotonin levels and how to quiet the dopamine hits. Now, we're all susceptible to all of this, right? So it's just that I study this stuff. I'm a little bit more aware of what the heck is going on. And when we're doing the dopamine hits, our energy and our minds are literally being hijacked. Okay, so let's get back to the empath. Here's what I know about a lot of empaths, including myself. We are naturally pretty rebellious when it comes to our energy. Like I said, we don't like to be jammed. We don't like to be pushed. We don't like to be manipulated or nudged. We can sense it. We can feel it. Don't like it. So, a lot of us, for example, don't like Las Vegas or big, noisy places with a lot of people, big crowds, all of that, especially when there's a underlying marketing ploy to make me do certain things to control my behavior. That really pisses me off. And so I see the same thing playing out with my cell phone. It's like, no, you cannot hijack my brain. I am in control of this. Thank you very much. Or at least, for a big degree. And so I kind of see the cell phone as Las Vegas in your pocket. And I don't know if that's a good thing on the regular, right? So I limit the cell phone in my life quite a bit. And when I'm working, for example, I will just have it face down and with the ringer off. And I'll check it when I have the space or when I want to check it so that it's not running my reality. It's not running my show. So with that whole, and the going back to the energy of the empaths, we're really sensitive to, I call it slave marketing. Don't like slave marketing. Rebellious, we don't like to be pushed. And then there's this sense of FOMO that everybody is trying to make us have. And it's like, no, you can't make me have FOMO, right? So I have to check myself when I do have it because I have had it on occasion. And I'm like, okay, you stepped in it again. You're not missing out on a darn thing. It's all good. This is called marketing and consumerism and all of the things that are trying to control our behaviors and ultimately just get our money, right? So don't like having my mind and my energy being hijacked. So what do we do? Well, there's some pretty good, easy solutions here. Let's get to the solutions. So the first one I think that's pretty important is to inform your friends, your family, and your clients. If there's that saying, I thought Dr. Seuss said it, but I just looked it up because I really hate misquoting people. That's important to me. Dr. Seuss did not say it, but those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind, right? So now you're gonna have to Google and say, who really said that? I don't know. But those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. So my friends don't mind. My friends know if they're going to call me and I'm in public, I'm not picking up that phone. I'm not having a conversation in public where everybody can hear my business. I'm private and I like to conserve my energy to my own bubble and not impose my energy on others. I think that's sloppy. And so they know that and they respect it. Maybe they don't understand it, but they respect it. And so I also have it where on my website, when my clients they book their own sessions, I don't want to have to be on the phone all the time having to book people's sessions. So I have it very streamlined and very easy for them to do, and I had to train them at the beginning, but they're so good at it. They know they can just go pick their time, pick their day, and it's booked, so that's less time for me to be on the phone having to do those kinds of chores. So my point is that there's a lot of different ways that we can handle these things, but we have to inform people what we're doing so that they don't think that we're ghosting them or being rude, and not getting back to them, right? It's called, having boundaries. And back before cell phones, it was easy to have boundaries around that. And now it has become more difficult. So I would just say, practice and trust your friends and your family and the people who matter. They won't mind. The second thing is you can, turn your ringer off. Like I said, I turn my ringer off when I'm working. Actually, my ringer is always off. I only turn it on if there's like a situation that I'm waiting to hear from. You can also change your ringer tone, like your text messages or whatever, so that it's not grating and scraping and frightening. I hate that. So a lot of my ringtones are chimes and soft, and they sound like doo, a little magical. So they don't freak me out if I do have my ringer on. And then you can always choose which notifications you want to have on, but for the majority of them, you can have them off. Like I do not have my social media notifications on, not at all. If and when I want to go to my social media, I'll see the little bell and I'll see all the notifications and I can check everything all at once. But otherwise, I just feel like it's just a constant bombardment and we can easily go down the rabbit hole and you forget what you're doing, right? And it just is a time sucker and an energy sucker. So you can pick and choose. You can also have no screen time. Like I think a really good habit that a lot of people do is no screen time before bed, just to get your eyes back where they belong and to rest your brain and to rest your eyes and to reduce the screens that are in your face. So before bed, it's just a good time not to have, especially your cell phone right here in your face. And then also, to just start to think about those dopamine hits that you have throughout your day and becoming really aware of where your attention is being pulled and who's pulling it and what's the bottom line. And wait a minute, am I here for the ride or am I going to control this or what's the deal? And so there's some folks out there who actually go on dopamine diets and they reduce or they even eliminate their phones from their reality for like a week or two at a time. We don't have to get that extreme, but I really do think it's helpful for all of us to understand where we are affected by that. Like when are we having a dopamine hit? What are we chasing? What's calling us? What's chasing us? And then to reduce it, and to realize, oh, hey, I just stepped in it again, or I just got pulled in a certain direction. I was doing this and now I'm doing that. I think I'm going to go back to doing what I wanted to do and stop doing what I'm being pulled in. I can think of all the advertisements, all the marketing, and it all boils down to media and marketing, that I can think of. I can't even think of another reason, or a situation that is happening on our cell phones, except for those things that are just vying for our attention. And it could be people as well, but it's usually just marketing and advertising and all of that. And so I guess the bottom line is we get to pick and choose. We get to choose what comes in our reality and what gets to stay on the fringe, on the outside, to choose having that circle, what's good for us and what's not so great for us. What can we live without? Um, what do we have the time and the bandwidth for? And then what can we exclude? And I think making those kinds of choices are really empowering in our own lives. Okay, so let's see if I have any other good stuff here for you. All right. I think, okay, that pretty much sums it up. And I think I'm pretty much right on time. So, to, just to bottom line this too, we live in a really noisy society, a really noisy culture. Everybody wanting something and wanting our attention, right? And this reminds me of one of my childhood heroes, Ferris Bueller. And he says at the end of his movie, he says, life moves pretty fast. And if you don't stop and look around once in a while, you can miss it. Mm, yes. And so we need to get our heads out of our phones and up into life so that we can see what's going on around us and enjoy the beauty around us and really produce some good serotonin instead of the hijacked dopamine that's trying to rule and hijack our brains. All right, guys. So I think that's all I've got for you today. And I want to invite the empaths that if you want to learn how to better manage your own energy and to grow your gifts, I created a brand new community for us all. It's called Enchanted Empath Coaching. And so go on over there. It's www.enchantedempath.com. And it is a really cool culture of empaths who are exploring their gifts of intuition, healing, and manifesting. So we do live meditations, we do live classes every week, and then we have special events. So go on over there and check it out. And so I will see you guys here live again next Tuesday. If you have any questions or comments, leave them and I will get back to you, or I will use them for a future live cast. All right, guys, take good care of yourself and each other. I'll see you soon.